It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Sorry about being a little bit late, folks. I got to talk with my guest for today and lost complete track of time. I'm coming to you from Jacksonville, Florida. I'm sitting in a McDonald's restaurant, and I can't see anything because there's such a glare in here, so I'm having trouble following my mouse around. But anyway, welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News. This is the second day of December. We do have a couple news stories today, which we'll get to eventually. Lifeboat mishap on Quantum of the Seas. Oceania announces a Mediterranean Grand Voyage, which looks awesome. Royal Caribbean and celebrity break sales records. The Costa, Venezia sails the final cruise for Costa. And a tragedy in Antarctica. We're going to hit all of that and more this morning at 11. Today, by the way, folks, is National Bartender Day. So go out and do something nice for your favorite bartender. Or if you're on a cruise ship, do something nice for your favorite bartender on a cruise. Be nice too. If you're listening via the podcast, welcome aboard. You can always access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net, or wherever you get your podcast from, all the big hitters. Any of them, just search for Travel and Cruise Industry News, and up pops the Fat Travel Guy. If you're listening via the Twitter feed or watching via the Twitter feed, I do go live on Twitter. I recommend any of the Twitter followers, just to safeguard yourself, jump over to YouTube and search for Chillie's Cruises. Chillie, the longest way possible, _S, Chillie's Cruises. Subscribe so you can always get the feed in case something happens with Twitter. I don't entirely trust what's going on over there. All right, my special guest this morning, I've talked about her for several days now to most of you guys that are regulars. She created Spin the Globe some years ago. She's a disabled veteran, a mother, an author, a consultant, a world traveler, just an absolutely fascinating person. And for our purposes today, she's probably been the biggest influence on my life of anybody that I know of. I do what I do today as far as using my disability, my mobility challenges, my health situation, my battle with oxygen, to show what can be done on cruises if you have a mind to do it. She's the person that inspired me to do that. And for that, I will be forever grateful. So with no further ado, here's my guest for today, Sylvia Longmire. Sylvia, welcome to Chillie Chats.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
All right. You started off, I guess, back in about 2005, first on a walker. Then you progressed to a scooter and now to a chair.
Yep.
Tell us what that journey has been like and maybe compare specifically scooters to wheelchairs.
Okay. Gosh, I've been, just for your viewers and your listeners know, I've had multiple sclerosis for 17 years. I've been using some sort of mobility device for at least a chair or a scooter full time for almost 8 years. And I was using a walker before that. So it's been interesting. When I first started traveling with a mobility device, there wasn't that much information out there about accessible travel. So I really kind of had to learn as I go. And I've been fortunate, quote unquote, in the sense that because my progression has been slow, that I've been able to kind of adapt as my Mobility has gotten worse, or as I've had to depend on a mobility device a little bit more. So it's just been a learning curve, and trying things a little bit at a time. Now, that being said, even though I always tell my blog readers, the people at my presentations and everything like that, when they're first starting to travel with the mobility device, to kind of take baby steps. And I didn't really follow my own advice when I started, because my first trip internationally using the scooter was to Dubai, and it was a 16-hour flight, and that was kind of reckless and rather stupid. It worked out, but still, many things could have gone sideways. So it was interesting. And after that, though, I said, if I can travel 16 hours on a flight as a scooter user who can't walk at all, if I can go to Dubai and back and make it there in one piece, I can pretty much go anywhere. So that served, I guess, its purpose. The scooter that I had when I started, it was a 3-wheel pride scooter, and it was pretty what's the word I'm looking for? It was very portable. It was smaller. It was very I'm not even thinking of it. Easy through tight spaces, and very maneuverable. That's the word I'm looking for. Very maneuverable. So that was nice. And the biggest thing for me, because I can technically transfer to a regular taxi if I have to. It's not safe, it's not comfortable, but I can do it. And my scooter came apart in 3 pieces. That was a big requirement for me. And even when I was still able to take a few steps and I was able to rent a car with hand controls, I could lift up the pieces and put it in the trunk. So that was very important to me. So I made the transition partly because since my MS was starting to affect my hands, particularly my right hand, and I need my right hand to hit the little button to make it go. And it was getting harder for me to do that. Also, I had an incident in Singapore with a scooter, and it was my fault. It was a 3-wheel scooter, and I was going over a little lip. It wasn't that big, but because I didn't take it straight on and I went an angle, I tipped over, and it was the first time that had ever happened to me. I was lucky
twice.
Yeah, I was lucky that it was slow, and it was not in a busy area, but it was a Sunday morning, very early, and there weren't a lot of people around. I didn't break any bones or anything, thank God, because I have osteoporosis from being a wheelchair user. But I did get a little scraped up. I started yelling for help. Unfortunately, there were some hotel workers that were right across the street that were able to pick me up. But it spooked me. It spooked me really, really badly. And after that, when I was traveling with the scooter, I remember being in Prague, and I was going across. I was on a sidewalk, and it was kind of like a driveway. It wasn't that steep, but it was just enough to where I got really nervous. And I felt very top heavy. And I said, you know what? I can't travel. I'm nervous enough around other things that I can't do this anymore. I need a 4-wheel solution. So the search began for a power chair and I needed 3 things. I needed for it to come apart and go in the trunk of a car for the same reasons. B, I needed it to be comfortable because I'm sitting in that chair. I'm in my big rehab chair at home that lifts up and reclines, and it's super comfortable, but I can't travel with this chair. So I'm like, if I'm going to be in a chair for 12 to 16 hours a day, I need it to be comfortable. And then third, because I travel in Europe so much, and there are thresholds that I have to deal with, particularly with like metros or sidewalks or whatever, I need the front wheels to be big. And there are lots of travel power chairs that fold up or just in general, but they have the smaller front wheels. And I can't get those caught in cobblestones, which I deal with a lot. And with subway, with subways, with metros and stuff that may have a bigger gap or a little lip to get over. So I need big front wheels. And the current 4-wheel Whill CI2 that I'm in fit that bill. So yeah, that's why I made the transition. So it is different. The maneuverability is better because it's a smaller chair. It's got a smaller footprint. And my chair that I have turns in place. So it's got a tiny turn radius. The scooter that I had, because it was a 3-wheel scooter, did have a small turn radius, but it's still much longer. So the maneuverability wasn't as good. And my chair is not top heavy. So not having to worry about tipping over with a 4-wheel chair is much better. And it's got my chair that I have now has a suspension system. So the going over bumps is a lot more comfortable than it is on the scooter. The padding is a lot thicker. So yeah, the scooter, the scooter was nice. I have a basket underneath. The scooter had the basket in front. Having that tiller in front for stability and hanging on to was nice. But then again, now that I can recline, so there are some differences. I'm much happier though in the power chair in the four wheel than I am in the scooter. So yeah, there are some differences, and one works better for the it's different and it serves different purposes. So
one of the things that I'm interested in trying is Sheila at Whill suggested that maybe on one of the cruises, rather than me using a scooter, I'd want to try a chair. So, yeah, I mean, eventually I'll end up in a chair probably. Yeah. But, I think I'm going to take them up on that offer and use, one of their chairs. I think that would be awesome for one of my cruises. By the way, since you flipped a scooter, I'm probably the only person in the world that's managed to flip a scooter on an absolutely level piece of ground. I was in St. Thomas and right over, completely level.
Yeah.
Took two people to get me up because they couldn't find a crane. But you cruise a lot.
Yes. Not as much as you, but a lot.
Well, this year, this year's been my best year ever. But so I hope to continue that. Do you find, is there a difference in the accessibility on a cruise ship? Now let's, notwithstanding good, bad, or indifferent on the ship side.
Sure.
But from an accessibility side, from our side of it, was it easier on a ship with a scooter or with the chair? Or is it virtually the same?
I think it's a little easier with my chair just because the maneuverability is better. Because it's just a smaller footprint and I don't have something in front of me. So getting around, like if it's a tight squeeze in the casino, in my stateroom, like for example, I was on the Celebrity Summit over Thanksgiving with some friends, and it's an older ship. I was in an interior stateroom, and even though it was an accessible stateroom, it was a shoebox. It was tiny. And I'm really spoiled. Like Royal Caribbean has enormous accessible staterooms. Celebrity, I mean, I've been sailing with Celebrity a long time, and they're one of my favorite cruise lines. But even the accessible rooms have always been small on Celebrity, especially the interiors. And the newer ships are better, but still, it's a tight squeeze. And in a scooter, I don't know that I would have been able to manage in that Summit stateroom, especially trying to get around the corner between the bed and getting into the bathroom. It was hard, and my power chair is probably the smallest footprint of any power chair that's out there. So yeah, that would have been difficult. Now, that being said, yeah, it's really, if you're on a ship that has tighter spaces, and sometimes it's easier when there's no tiller in front of me. When there's like a door to open. For instance, I went on the MSC Divina and the MSC the Seaside, and I'm not a fan of MSC because the accessibility is good, and like the Seaside was okay, but they don't have sliding doors, the automatic sliding doors. And the doors, and I remember this very clearly from both. The doors are very heavy. They're either glass or wood. So if I'm in a power chair with nothing in front of me, I have a free hand to open a door. I don't know. Manual wheelchairs would not have been able to do it at all on that ship. And having somebody to come help me open the door, I hate it. Like, people always do it, but I should be able to do it myself. And it was really, really hard. So in the power chair, it was slightly easier because I didn't have anything in front of me. And I can use the controller to maneuver and open the door. And I can wedge my wheel in the door and use the chair to open the door for me if it's a heavy door, which sucks, but at least I can do it. Yeah, with a scooter, because I have that tiller in front of me and I have to reach over, like it would be a lot harder to open those heavy doors. It was not as easy with the scooter. So that was
both of my arms are constantly in a state of bruising
Yeah.
because of doors trying to get through them and hold them. And
yeah. So
I just did on a Carnival ship that I had 1 inch on either side of the scooter wheels to fit into the door into my
oh God, that's
accessible
a tight fit.
stateroom.
Yeah.
That was hell.
Yeah.
But anyway, the newer ships are better. Oddly enough, the last 2 older ships I've been on, which older, smaller ships, was a Carnival ship, Carnival Paradise,
Ooh.
and Serenade of the Seas, Royal Caribbean ship.
Yeah.
Both of them scored very well as far as accessibility goes.
Yeah.
Yes, Carnival, I had that skinny little door into my cabin.
Yeah.
And they did a horrible job on disembarkation.
Yeah.
But most everything else about the ship, there were a couple little places that weren't very accessible. And of course, I'm totally opposed to swimming pools the way they are today. And Serenade both, a couple little minor things, but other than that, I went on both cruises expecting them to be crappy, and they were both reasonably well suited for accessibility.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned those ships. I did the Serenade back in 2017 on a Baltic cruise, and the only problem I had, well, it wasn't even really a problem. The dining room, the big red chairs it was a really tight fit in the dining room. But the servers and the maitre d', they all go in front and move the chairs around. But I do remember that from the dining room that it was a squeeze. But everything else was great. And I did the Paradise actually with my boys out of Tampa to go to Cozumel a few years ago. And Carnival is not. I'll be kind and I'll say that it's not my favorite cruise line. But because we wanted to go to Cozumel and just the schedule worked out, and I was like, it's an older ship. But we had a junior suite for the 3 of us, and other than the pole that was right in the middle of the suite, which was really bizarre, but no, it was a spacious suite. And what was cool was that they had an automatic door. You hit the key and the door opens up, which I was shocked. I'm like, this is an old ship. Yeah. So everything else, it had the automatic doors, the sliding doors. I was, like you said, it was an older ship, but I was impressed. I was impressed, and I was also very surprised because it is an older ship. So I did okay in the Paradise too.
One of the things that I watch closely is automatic doors on the public restrooms.
Yeah.
And both of those ships have automatic doors on every restroom. So somebody along the way has done a good job. Well, I know who Royal Caribbean is. That's Ron Pettit. So
it is Ron.
Ron has told me I have his number on speed dial. Is if I have a problem on a royal ship, I'm supposed to call him immediately.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be back.
Yeah, we're friends on Facebook, and whenever I post anything about either a royal ship, and he doesn't do celebrity, but celebrity's still in the same family. Yeah. So he's always liking all my posts and videos and stuff from either celebrity ship or royal ship. And 99 times out of 100, whatever it is, it's going to be good. So.
All right, what's next for Sylvia?
Tomorrow, I drive down to Fort Lauderdale tomorrow. I'll be doing a 7-day cruise in the Apex to the Caribbean, San Juan and Tortola and St. Kitts. And then I'm spending the night in Miami, and then I head out on the Valiant Lady on that Sunday for 6 days, and I'll be doing a Roatan and Bimini and Costa Maya. So yeah, the 2 back-to-backs, and I haven't done that before, so I'm looking forward to that.
Well, for me, for driving as far as I drive, I've got to at least do back-to-backs to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
If I'm going to drive for 2 days and back home for 2 days, I got to at least get 2 cruises in, and I like doing 3.
I'm spoiled. I'm living in Orlando, so I got Port Canaveral in 1 hour, Tampa 2 hours, and then Fort Lauderdale 3.5, and Miami 4. So I'm very lucky living in Central Florida. I don't have to go that far.
All right, let me ask you this: how do you fare with, especially in the Caribbean? I can't speak to European, but especially in the Caribbean, that there's like no accessible excursions. and it just drives me bonkers.
It's getting better. It's getting better, and I actually have two. I have two accessible excursions that I booked through Celebrity for the Apex, and then I have one in Roatan, but I didn't book that through Virgin. I booked that separately.
Yeah.
Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, Princess, and Disney all have some selection, and it's getting better. I don't know if you are, or if your listeners are familiar with Sage Travel, with John Sage. Sage
John
Travel.
Sage, of course.
Yeah, ACV Sage, and they have partnerships. They started a couple years partnership with Disney for their tours, and they have a wide variety of tours. I actually did an accessible tour with them in Aruba when I was on the Celebrity Equinox a few weeks ago. So they offer a really big selection. So if I'm not able to book something through the cruise line, which it is cheaper, it is much cheaper to do it through the cruise line than to do it on my own. Plus, since I travel alone, usually it ends up being a private tour, which is a lot more expensive.
Sure.
But the selection is out there and it's getting better. Plus, post-COVID, a lot of these tour operators run on a very small profit margin. So some of them, I'm sure, over COVID have disappeared. So I'm getting back on track now that I'm cruising again pretty regularly to try to find out who's still out there. I also used disabled accessible travel with Mirjam Versteeg in Europe. I've been friends with her for a long time, and in the European theater, she's amazing, and I do all of my shore excursions through them. So the offerings are out there, but they can be pricey, and they are getting better every year. And sometimes it's a surprise. I was in Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic, a couple weeks ago. Couldn't find anything. So Corey, my friend Corey Lee with Curb Free with Corey Lee, does accessible travel too. He was in Puerto Plata, I guess, about a year ago, and he couldn't find a tour, and he was just going to try to roll around, and he was able to find a taxi driver to walk with him, and they were able to do kind of like a walking, rolling tour. And I said, well, maybe I'll get lucky and I'll do that because I couldn't find anything. And I was just about to roll out of the port area, and there was a taxi driver who was like, oh, hey, come take a tour with us. I speak fluent Spanish. And I was like, no. Look, I'm in a wheelchair. It's like, no. We can do it. I'm like, yeah, okay. It's like, no. We got a van. And I'm thinking a van with like a wooden plank. Like, it's Dominican Republic. So I'm like, I've been here before. I don't know. Yeah. So I went over there. He's like, just wait here. And like 5 minutes later, they brought a fully wheelchair accessible Dodge Caravan with air conditioning. And I ended up going on a private 4.5-hour tour. And he was only going to charge me $100. And it was so awesome. I ended up paying him $200 because otherwise, if I had booked that tour privately, that tour probably would have cost me about $500.
Sure.
But it wasn't advertised anywhere. So I got his business card and I said, I'm going to put it on my blog when I write about, this. And yeah, I actually have his business card right here. Leonel Reyes with Taxi Bahia de Maimon. So if you're a wheelchair user, a scooter user, make sure you reach out and you can do it. But yeah, they're not advertised anywhere, but it was fantastic. So sometimes it's just unexpected where you could do some accessibility in a port excursion or in a port, and it's just not on the internet.
I would love that. When I was in Puerto Plata last, I just rolled in and went around the little touristy area there and went to, I don't know, one of the bars, had a couple adult beverages, might have had some lunch. I don't remember. I do the same thing when I'm in Amber Cove. Of course, I like Canal Lounge, I think it's called, in Amber Cove. I've had a lot of fun in there, so I don't mind spending the afternoon there. But yeah, I have trouble finding accessible excursions. So
yeah, it's getting better. It's getting better.
All right. Well, Sylvia, thank you so much for doing this. I come to think about it. Tell me about being an ambassador for Whill and Scootaround.
Sure. Well, I've been a brand ambassador for Whill for about 4 years, and it's the best job in the world. I get paid to take photos and videos of myself living my best life all around the world, and especially on cruises, because cruises are my specialty, and just kind of showing off the capabilities of the chair and what it can do on cruise ships and just on land as well. And Whill owns Scootaround. They bought Scootaround a couple years ago, and Scootaround provides personal transportation solutions. In other words, like rental scooters and rental power chairs, and particularly the Whill, and also the Whill Model F. for people who are going on cruises. And also we do land tours as well. So if you're going to Vegas and you're going to do the casinos, we can deliver the chairs or the scooter directly to your hotel room in addition to directly to your stateroom. And so many people, at least the statistic that we use, that 40% of people who use mobility devices at home have no idea that you can rent something, especially if you don't want to travel with your own chair. They don't even know that service exists. And my job with Scootaround is to train travel agents on how to provide those solutions, because so many travel agents don't know that we exist either. So I'm like, well, if you can earn money renting stuff out, here's how you can do it, and also understand the disability community so you know what our needs are. So yeah, it's the best job in the world, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it a little bit.
That's awesome. All right, well, Sylvia, have fun on your next 2 cruises. I'll be thinking about you. Of course, I'll be on 2 of my own same time. Yeah. So, and we shall do this again soon. Sounds
great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sylvia. All right. That's Sylvia Longmire. Boy, that was great. I was so excited about today. All right, guys, I'll be back with some news right after a word from one of our network sponsors. All right, this is really unusual, guys. I absolutely cannot see to funnel in pictures, which I had a bunch of pictures loaded. So we're just going to talk. How's that? A startling video from Quantum of the Sea shows the ship's number 12 Lifeboat on the port side of the vessel detaching from its davits and falling overboard, aft first into the water, and slowly drifting astern of the cruise ship. That happened yesterday. The davits from 2 other lifeboats were extended, hanging those boats out over the side, but number 12's davits were still in a vertical position, having only been partially repositioned, which holds them in place. As it fell, the rescue craft hit the deck of the cruise ship before falling over the side and into the water. Now, if I can see to do this, I do have a clip which might be enough on its own that I can play.
Right. Yep. It's going now.
That was the sounds. The sounds and clips of Quantum of the Sea's lifeboat going into the water. The lifeboat was retrieved, and photos clearly show large dents and cracks along the starboard aft corner of the lifeboat, as well as damage to the fiberglass underside of the lifeboat. The rescue craft was able to be firmly secured and placed aboard the cruise ship in its normal position. No injuries were reported. One crew member is visible on the deck, and it looks like he's holding a guide rope, but he quickly got way out of the way. Quantum of the Seas is sailing on a 10-night round trip, South Pacific itinerary from Brisbane, Australia. Oceania Cruises released a statement announcing a 33-day cruise that will call on 28 ports in the Mediterranean without repeating the same one twice. Named the Mediterranean Connection Grand Voyage. The sailing will take place on Oceania's ship Marina and will begin in Venice, Italy, visiting ports in Italy, Greece, Israel, Egypt, Malta, and a whole bunch more. Now, again, I'm going to see if I can see this to flash it up to give you an idea what I'm talking about. And again, folks, I apologize for this. I wanted to, because Sylvia was going to be a guest today, I wanted to be in There we go. I wanted to be inside as opposed to trying to do this with my car. And I didn't count on the fact that it was going to be so bright and glaring in here. But look at the itinerary there. That's just awesome. Now, I've never been on Oceania. They're smaller ships. There's some questions about accessibility issues on the ships. But anyway, that's an interesting thought. And of course, it is expensive. It's a little more than many of us normally pay for our cruises. The ironic thing about this particular ship is right after this, it sails in, October, I think, of 2023. It's coming to Miami, and within like a month at the end of this, it takes off on a 39-night trip from Miami to South America. So you want some challenging trips? Oceania Cruises might be the way to do it. I was impressed. It's on the bucket list now. Admittedly, not at the top, but it's on there. All right, Royal Caribbean just Royal Caribbean just released a statement revealing a record-breaking Black Friday. According to a press release, the recent Black Friday sales event was the company's single largest booking day ever. Royal Caribbean also experienced the richest, highest volume booking week in the company's 54-year history. This marks the third time in 2022 that a cruise line record has been broken by Royal Caribbean. After Royal Caribbean International announced the record-breaking booking week, Celebrity Cruises posted the largest booking day ever on Black Friday, followed by its strongest Cyber Monday in the celebrities' history. The strong bookings show the pent-up demand for cruises is very apparent. Set to debut for Carnival Cruise Line in 2022, the Costa Venezia, did I do that right? Venezia has wrapped up its last sailing for Costa Cruises, marking the end of a program that was in the Eastern Mediterranean. The 2019 built vessel returned to Istanbul to disembark passengers on its final cruise. The Vista-class cruise ship will now enter an operational pause before being officially added to the Carnival fleet. During the period, it will be adapted to showcase what Carnival is calling Carnival Fun Italian style. We'll see how that's going to go. And of course, the Carnival Venezia will be sailing from New York. And the final story this morning, the sad story. One person died and 4 were injured when a massive freak wave crashed into an expedition vessel, the ship Viking Polaris, during a storm as it sailed off the southernmost tip of South America. The Viking Polaris was sailing towards Argentina, which was its home port, when the wave hit. There was damage to the ship. 1 person died, 4 people were injured. Sad situation on Viking. So, all right, now I'm going to also attempt, I got to get a sip first, get over to the chat room. Then I can get on my way, heading to Fort Lauderdale. All right, well, at least I can see who's here. Kenneth's with us. Hi, Kenneth. Want you to have an awesome cruise. Try to keep warm for all of us. I have a jacket that I've had on since I left the motel this morning. I took it off when I got into the McDonald's here. It was pretty nippy even in South Carolina where I stayed last night. Pretty nippy. Kevin's with us. Kevin's getting ready to get on a boat too. Amy's here. Hi, Amy. That's my favorite ship on Princess. The swimming pool. That's one of the things I meant to ask Sylvia about was her feelings about swimming pools and chairs, the access chairs. Lizzie's with us. Hi, Lizzie Lou. Hot Air Tom's here. I had stuff loaded up from Hot Air Tom. I will have to use those tomorrow from Hawaii at Walamea Canyon. I can't see to put them on. I mean, it's just crazy how little I can see right now. Everybody's saying good morning. Dennis with us. Hi, Dennis. Sonny's here down in Mississippi. Hi, Sonny. There's Cindy. Dennis says, remember to use the McDonald's app for points and offers and try their steak, egg, and cheese bagel at breakfast. Okay, that's a good suggestion. I've never done their steak, egg, and cheese. Come to think about it. Yes, I did on my Diet Coke that I have sitting here. Robert Lamb's with us. Hi, Robert. And Kevin, as usual, is saying, smash that thumbs up, folks. I appreciate that. Lizzie Lou saying, hey to Sylvia. What an inspiration, Sylvia. She's been a real inspiration for me, that's for sure. That disembarkation was pure trash. I hope you contacted Carnival. That should never have happened. I did. Of course, they haven't responded back to me. Scootaround needs to be an exhibitor at the travel trade shows. Yeah, I'd agree with that. The interesting thing is that I know that Sylvia is in a much better position as far as representing Whill and Scootaround. But yeah, I'm going to be kind of on equal footing with her. So I definitely have some challenges to keep up with Sylvia. Nikki's with us. Nikki's just over the hill from where I am. I'm actually, Nikki, I just passed the 295 turnoff on 95, and I think it's the next exit, Dunn Road, maybe, something like that. So I'm sitting at a McDonald's on Dunn Road. Of course, I'm going to get in the car and head on to Fort Lauderdale here shortly. I forgot to mention to ask for extra sauce on the steak, egg, and cheese bagel. Okay, I will do that, Dennis. So, all right, again, guys, I'm having trouble seeing anything. So this was maybe not the best suggestion because it's just way too bright with these big windows here. I don't remember ever having that much trouble when I've come inside a McDonald's before, but I'm definitely having it today. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap me up. I'm heading for Fort Lauderdale. I will, who knows when I'll be coming live, but I'll be doing live streams a bunch, I hope. I hope I got a good signal on board the new Staten Dam. That's where I'll be heading tomorrow, sailing tomorrow. So stay tuned. I'll be there. All right, that's going to wrap me up for today, guys. Look forward to everybody joining me on the new Staten Dam as we start a new adventure for the old fat travel guy. All right, guys, everybody have a fantastic weekend. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, think about cruising. Hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. Have a fantastic day, everybody. See you sometime from on board the new Staten Dam.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry, so if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.